Hello. So what I wanted to do is kind of just talk about. I wanted to give some tips for people who were really beginners at guitar for songwriting, how to fake it, and how my process for how I write a song. And I also just want to say, like, if you have wanted during Corona and isolation to um, write a song and post it, make your own vlog, post it, do a podcast and post it, or make your own art and post it. You should do it because it's fun, and I think you shouldn't feel like you're being judged, and you should just do it. I think people will find enjoyment in listening to you and finding out what you can do, and even if you're bad at it, it's still fun. It's still a lot of fun for you, and if no one else wants you to post it, you want you to post it, and you can always delete it later. Just try not to be offensive or do anything that'll like permanently damage you. So what what I do when I started playing guitar, I did have to learn a lot of it just by ear, and I've always had quite a good ear from when I was a kid, and I ended up just playing around with different like chords, and eventually I met with my friend Tegan, and she showed me D minor and an E minor and an A minor. Really simple chords. It's easier, I find, to songwrite when you're using minor chords. And then eventually, as you get better, you can start using bar chords, which are for people who aren't musically done. Bar chords on a guitar are the ones where you're sticking sticking your finger in there across the entire fret. A fret is each of these little lines as a fret. You would stick your finger and cover all of them with that. I'm not very good at it. I really am someone who fakes it until they make it. But what makes that easier when you're starting is you grab your capo and you stick it on there. And I apologise that I'm patronising. I'm just this is how I work, you know. That once if you stick it on, let's say the 5th fret. By the way, that's a bit high. It's a bit high for a guitar, but you might as well be playing the ukulele. Nah, but it makes just doing the bar chords a lot easier. And then when you get your fingers build the strength from that, you can go lower and lower or higher and higher, depending on how you're looking at it. And you can just take it off eventually once you've built some endurance. Pardon me. I haven't built the endurance yet, so I'm gonna stick it on, and I'm gonna put it on the 4th fret, and I'm gonna do that. Some other songwriting tips is I'm just gonna get a bit uncomfortably close to you. Right, so if you know the E major on the guitar, I don't know what this is called, but if you can play that, E major, but the capo is on the 4th fret, you can just slide it up so the top 2 fingers go to the 4th fret and the bottom finger, the index finger, goes to the 2nd fret, and then you just slide it up 2 more, and then you go back to the original position, then you go up 1, and that's a pattern. That's a pattern that's all in the same key, and it'll work. I've written a few songs with that, and that's like cheating that's a little cheat for songwriting. There's also this one that's an A major, and then you slide that up 2, and then you turn it into you slide it up 2, but now make it minor, as like, the fingering position for A minor. And you know what? That all works with the original one. So you can go bum 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 bum, and it sounds nice. And that's like an easy way to fake guitar playing in your songwriting if you wanted to use those chords. And I don't own any guitar chords. I don't own any guitar chord progressions. No one does. And you can just, I've stolen chord progressions from other songs, but then made it my own. And I think that that's a healthy way to songwrite because you are learning different. Your your ear is changing. As long as you're not copying up, word for word, or the melody, like you're not making it too close. But who's to say what the boundaries are? There's all those cases like Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree is in Land Down Under. I personally think that's stupid. I think that was the motif. I think you can use a motif. Anyway, that's my say on that. What I normally do when I'm beginning to write a song is I start with a minor chord. If I want to, let's say I want to write the easiest song in the world, I'm going to pick 4 different chords. I usually start with a minor, or I make it in a minor key because I find it easier to improvise around a minor key. So I'll start with, let's say, E minor, the easiest one to play for me. Yeah, and then with the second one, I usually want to pick one that's a bit less predictable, because usually you'll just kind of go E minor, C major, G, D, and that's probably the 4-chord song, isn't it? That's like I come from land down under, just as I was saying before, or starships meant to fly. All of those songs, 4-chord songs, make me gag, make me not want to go for it. But yeah, kind of try to pick something that's a bit less predictable than E minor, C, A minor, G. I go E minor, and then let's see if F. No, it is just trial and error. That's another song that I've written, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go straight from E minor to E major, and then I'm going to go back to a minor, and then I want to chuck in a chord that I find difficult. I think I would recommend always putting in one chord that you find a little bit difficult, because that will challenge you in your playing. But I'll put in a B7. See, I can't play it very well, but eventually in all of my aching I will be able to. So I've got a chord progression there, because it's a bit unpredictable, it's a bit jazzy. If I can go E minor, E major, no, I'm going to do E major 7, yeah, if that's a 7, I'm not sure, and then an A minor, it's just leaving the gaps in, so like if I'm doing like an E minor there, and then I go E major, I put in the index finger, and then I take away that middle one, the middle note, so it should sound, rather than, and then you go down, you do the exact same thing to the A minor, the middle note's gone, and it's got that like, I don't know, like sunset at the beach kind of feel to that chord. And then you go a B major 7, which is also the middle note is missing, but it's a bar chord, so it's gonna make you pull your hair out. Plus, your fingers are like right on top of each other. And that's really out there, and then it goes back. So I'll strum that one. See? Gross. I can't play it, but I don't think that I should judge myself, and I don't think that anyone else has the right to. Because I'm just learning. And then what I do is I'll improvise for the melody. Let's say I'm making a melody purely out of that. I'll pick something short, the most predictable thing that I can do, and I try to make it a little bit percussive. So let's say, so the notes are short and it's percussive, so I'll just go with a bum, 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. So now I've kind of heard, like, I'm just using my ear, just picking out kind of notes, experimenting. Sometimes it'll sound shit, so I could be like bum 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 bum. You know, that does happen all the time, especially when I'm not familiar with what I'm doing and I'm rushing a bit. But I know my kind of vibe that I'm going for, and I can kind of just improvise around that, and I'll be like, and I walk, and I walk, and I fly, na na na. And I don't really like where my voice is resonating there. What I'm going to do is I'm moving it down 2 capos here, 2 frets even, 2 capos. I'm chucking another one on, chucking 2 off. And I'll listen to it here. I'll go bum 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 bum, and I'll kind of go up the octave because that's where I wanted to resonate. I wanted to be kind of like high, but where I like my voice, sort of go da 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 and that's all just from the original bum 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 bum, or bum 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 bum, and you just kind of like play with it, and you gotta experiment a bit, and you gotta hit the wrong notes, and you got to join in with that. But you know, like when I was saying it, and I said, and I walk, and I walk, and I just went into gibberish. A lot of famous musicians do that as well. They'll have the chords there, and then they'll just kind of speak gibberish, a completely different language, and then they'll come up with one kind of a, let's call it, it'll be the motif of the song, or the motive, the theme of the song. And let's say if I say, and I walk, then what would be relevant to me, maybe walking out of a situation, or I could be like, oh, and I walk because I like walking. When people are writing about like, I can't judge. I just really hate the ones that are like, then I walked to the park and I had a fun time and I was with my friends and I've got no substance. I don't really like that kind of stuff, but there's a place for everything. There's a place for everything. I wouldn't recommend that, but there's a place for all types of lyrics, all types of songs, and I can't be judgmental, and I can't, it's just not my flavour. So I could make, maybe if I'm talking about learning to be a bird, I might be like, and I walk, and I walk, and then I fly in a ball, and I'd fall. Yeah, there we go. And I'd walk, and I'd fly, and I'd fall, and that kind of works for me. And there I've got a chorus, half of a chorus probably. So let's just stick there, and then usually for a verse I'll do the exact same process, but I try to make it a bit less. It doesn't have to be as catchy. It doesn't have to. There's a lot less flow. The lyrics are obviously going to be a lot more difficult to kind of get, but that's it. They've got the and I walk, and I walk, and I fly, and I fall, and I turn, and I burn, and I think you can just see, I'm always making mistakes. I think everyone can make mistakes, and the problem is when a lot of people are beginning songwriting, they initially want to correct it straight away. Don't give up just because you make a couple of mistakes. I think that just play around. It's supposed to be fun. That's why people love music, because it's fun, it's experimental, you never know what's going to happen. And then once it's set in stone, you have a finished product and you know what's going to happen, and that's fun to have a finished product. So that's my process for songwriting, and I use that pretty much every time, unless I'm plucking which will be kind of like, you know, you have more of the, you have more freedom in what ones you're pressing, and you kind of, it's not, that was ugly, but you kind of just play around, use your ear, challenge your ear. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that you found joy in that, or learnt something, or I hope that I didn't patronise you too much. Enjoy. I hope to hear some songs.